Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. On behalf of Parsa Echo Pakistan, I welcome all of you. And I understand it's a very, very tough time for all of us. And this is going to be a very serious and discussion on where we are now and what we are going to do and what we will be doing. I will introduce the program. I am grateful to our faculty who has taken the time, to Parsa Trust who have been supporting us, to Ferosans for an unrestricted educational grant for this program. So a lot of partners that are here to bring this activity. And this will go on, and this will go on till this surge stops. And this will go on till we together find a way to tackle the challenge. I don't know, we have never faced such challenge, at least in my lifetime, and a lot of other. I know my father is a doctor. So very quickly, I will, in a couple of slides, I will just introduce the program. And our speaker, Dr. Farooq Khan, is here. He's known to most of you, an excellent teacher. So he will give his presentation. Then we will be sharing you about more what we are going to do. Some of our faculty members will be here. We will be taking their opinions and we'll be setting the next line of action. So if you bear with me, just let me share my screen. So I start with Allahumma arfa annal bala wal waba. ए मेरे अल्लाह हमसे मुसीबत और वबाई बीमारियों को हटा दीजिए. So the crisis in Pakistan is getting out of control. We have a surging number of patients, more than 132,000 confirmed cases till today. The patients, they are not seeking help. There is stigma, fear, lack of trust in healthcare services, extreme anxiety, and all of us are aware of that. We feel there is poor primary care physician training. There is a lot of stuff that is creating a lot of panic going on in social media, WhatsApp, Facebook, and we just need to tell you what is right and what is wrong. There are poor safety measures in the routine general practitioner's clinic. We need to talk, we need to listen to you, and we need to come out of a solution about that. There is extraordinary, extreme pressure in the COVID wards. Whatever the government says, I know and you know what the bed situation is like. And we all know people are panicking on plasma, remdesivir, on tocilizumab, what else and what not. And then poor socioeconomic conditions in our country. So what we are trying to do is, in a humble effort, we need to train doctors in primary care, because primary care is where the maximum load is. In Gujranwala, we are, and maybe in other cities, we will be setting up a free helpline, a teleclinic to guide patients with COVID-19. We will encourage management of COVID patients at home, and that's why we are here, and that's what we need to discuss. We'll identify very sick patients for prompt referral. To educate general public, we need to boost the morale of doctors and paramedics. How much have fallen, how many are sick these days, we are all aware of that. So to train the primary care physician on measures for their protection, to provide a platform of sharing experience, meeting experts. We'll like to listen to you. We'll have a format for that, so that you can refer your x-rays, refer your cases, and we will all be learning from each other. But of course, we keeping this thing in mind, the shortcomings or the limitations we have in various cities and rural areas in Pakistan. And in Gujranwala, I have some excellent donor support to fund poor patients. So we gonna launch a program for home care for those who cannot afford. So there's going to be a curriculum, medical side, which is we'll have a curriculum, simple algorithms, guidelines, and faculty. Human resource training and development, training paramedics how to protect themselves and how to teach family members on self-protection. Service delivery in a safe environment, and of course, public education and awareness session. So this was all that I had to tell you. We will be talking more about this, and I'll immediately go on to request Dr. Farooq Khan. He's a gem of a person, and we are very lucky to have him. Farooq, I would like you to introduce yourself. You have been with us for a long time now, and just please introduce yourself, where you are working, your passion, and then I would like you to go on with your presentation, and then we will have question and answer. Just a few housekeeping announcement. आप लोगों के पास एक चैट फंक्शन है, आपका जो क्वेश्चन है, अगर कोई भी क्वेश्चन होता है जस्ट आप हमसे शेयर करें चैट पे. हमारी टीम 3-4 लोग हैं जो चैट फंक्शन पे आपके क्वेश्चन को फॉलो कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि बहुत सारी रेपिटेशन होती है. हम शायद आपको बाद में उस तरह से ना ले सकें आपके क्वेश्चंस को, तो आप जस्ट टाइप इन योर क्वेश्चन, विल नोट इट डाउन. और ये प्रोग्राम ऑन गोइंग होगा. नेक्स्ट वीक प्रॉब्ली विल बी हैविंग 2 प्रोग्राम्स, सो वो हम आपसे शेयर करते जाएंगे. और अगर आप हमें अपना ईमेल एड्रेस भी चैट में भेज देते हैं तो विल बी वेरी ग्रेटफुल, और हम उससे आपको ईमेल के भी लूप में रखेंगे. और मे बी के क्योंकि हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं इस एक्टिविटी को CME एक्रेडिटेशन भी करा लें, तो हो सकता है हम आपसे बाद में आपका PMD से नंबर भी रिक्वेस्ट करें ताकि हम आपको CME एक्रेडिटेशन, सो आपका पूरा नाम, शहर का नाम, ईमेल एड्रेस और मोबाइल नंबर मैं आपसे नहीं कहूंगा, लेकिन जब हम CME में जाएंगे तो आपके ईमेल से हम आप राब्ता कर सकते हैं कि हम जो है. तो ये चैट फंक्शन में काइंडली गुड. जी फारूक, ओवर टू यू प्लीज. थैंक यू.
Assalamu alaikum everyone, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Farooq. We can hear you.
Okay, good, thank you.
You have to.
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm just looking for my screen. I have shared it. Is Uzair there?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, jolly good. Thank you. So yes, I'm Farooq Khan. I have been involved with Asad on so many fronts. I'm basically hepatologist. जितनी बातें असद ने मेरे बारे में की हैं, ये मुझे भी नहीं पता थी अपने बारे में. ये अच्छी बात है वैसे. So I'm very grateful. And the idea that Asad came along, I think it's very reasonable, and I fully support it, and I will. The idea is that we support doctors through education. I've always been a very firm believer of how we can change healthcare environment systems by using education at home. This is the first session, first talk of the series of sessions that you guys are going to have. The first one is this, that how can we manage patients at home? Are there any flow charts? This talk is very, very much focused on GPs and for the doctors who are going to help either their family members, their community, as well as with the Passer Trust to manage and guide patients over the phone. My talk is about 12 slides. It's a very basic talk. I will leave enough time for questions so that all of us could concentrate and focus. Okay, so we'll discuss what is COVID-19? How does a patient, when he has COVID-19, what does he go through? Or she, for that matter. Do's and don'ts. I'll try and clear some myths. And what tests, what's their validity? When should we ask them? When should we not? What does it mean when it comes positive or negative? Assessment and the management model for the home care. How do we assess? How do we manage patients at home? What are the criteria for keeping them at home? What's the criteria for them sending to hospital? And very last two slides, what does it mean for Pakistan? Where do you guys stand now? And where will you be in 4 to 6 weeks? आप लोग हमसे about 8 to 10 weeks पीछे हो. So I expect the way you guys are going, your peak would be in about 4 to 6 weeks time. That's when you will hit your peak, given all the numbers are accurate, of course. So let me take you through patient's journey. Let's have a look at, consider the whole population here. If you look, 30% will never have symptoms. So 3 out of 10 of your patients who are going to be COVID positive will never have symptoms. This is very important for a country where the spread is going crazy. This is where you have lockdowns which work, because 30% of the people, they actually don't know that they're affected. Then you have 55% of the population who will have mild to moderate symptoms. But if you follow this track through, you will see that there is no mortality there. So 55% of these who get infected will have mild symptoms, but actually no one seems to die, they recover. Okay, severe symptoms, 10% of them unfortunately will have severe symptoms which will need hospital. And the last is 5% which they get critical symptoms and they will need ICU. Unfortunately, this group has got a very, very high mortality. And it reaches up to 30%. So 3 out of 10 patients in this group who come to hospital, unfortunately, will die. No matter what you do, they will not survive. And it's very unfortunate. So our job from now on is to identify the patients that we can keep at home, we can look after at home, what models can be put in place, and what are the patients that we think that should go to hospital soon rather than late. Okay. Are days of presentation relevant? Well, yes. Let's have a look. I'm just going to share this study with you on one slide. So the top is survivors and the bottom group is non-survivors. What they did, they looked at from day one and they followed these patients through right to the time they discharged or they passed away. So survivors and non-survivors. And I just want you to focus on this. So in the survivors group, the maximum severity of symptoms started at day 9, day 8 to day 9 of them acquiring the infection. Similarly, if you look at the group that passed away, it's again the similar. So the idea of this is from day 8 to day 12, these 4 days of infection are very, very important. अच्छा, इसमें आपको ये नहीं पता लगेगा कि कौन सा पेशेंट इस वाले पाथ को फॉलो करेगा और कौन सा पेशेंट इस पाथ को फॉलो करेगा. सो देयरफॉर वो ये स्लाइड शेयर करने का मकसद ही सिर्फ ये है कि जब आपको कोई फोन पे कांटेक्ट करेगा और वो डे 8 से डे 12 के दरमियान में होगा अपनी इंफेक्शन के, and if his symptoms are getting worse, then he is amongst those 15% जो अभी हमने पिछली स्लाइड में देखे, who will actually need hospital admission and who may end up need ICU. Okay. Do's and don'ts. Most infections are caught at home or at workplace. ये आप याद रखो. Most of us are asymptomatic carrier. And if you look at papers after papers, people who catch COVID, their households as well as their workplace colleagues are the most important risk. Okay. What is the infection dose? So these are very small viral particles in microns, really. I'm not basic science, I'm not infectious disease consultant either, but this is just a very basic. ये वो myths हैं जो लोग फैलाते हैं, but no one actually quite know where do they all come from. Okay. So the dose जो किसी भी आदमी को चाहिए infect होने के लिए with COVID-19 viral is about 1,000 to 2,000 viral particles. Okay, what does that mean? जो हम एक normal सांस लेते हैं, so we exhale about anywhere between 50 to 5,000 droplets. Now that depends how heavily we breathe, how fast we breathe, are we resting and breathing, but each breath could have anywhere between 100 to 5,000 droplets. And each breath that we take has got 100 to 200 viral particles in each breath. इसका क्या मतलब है? मतलब ये कि अगर मैं एक infected आदमी के साथ बैठ जाऊं, तो उसके साथ मुझे 10 से 15 breath तक बैठना होगा for me to be able to acquire enough viral dose so that at day 7 after that I start to have symptoms. This is very important. अच्छा, अगर वही आदमी cough करेगा या sneeze करेगा, so the number goes to 30,000. So therefore, when we cough or when we sneeze, the droplets that we throw out and the viral particles that we throw out are in millions than in hundreds. ये बहुत relevant है. ये बहुत relevant. And that is why wearing mask, if you have a cough, coughing in a tissue, or if you sneeze, sneezing in your elbow is very, very important. बहुत ही minute measures हैं which you can actually do to prevent the spread. COVID-19 virus does not hang in air. I've already just told you it's a very, very small virus. It's an aerosol infection that requires a close contact. So just please keep a safe distance. 2 meters social distancing is there for a reason. As soon as it goes out in the air, it's so light, it never holds up in the air, it falls to the ground. No matter how long it stays on the ground, that's a very different debate. But you can't just acquire it by walking around in the air. So therefore, open air, gardens, back gardens, lawn, parks are fine. So just bear that in mind. Steam inhalation does not kill COVID-19. So please do not carry on suggesting steam inhalations to your patients. Somebody has sent me the video last week. There was a guy in Pakistan who was selling a steam inhalation machine from Germany. Apparently he bought, and he was selling steam 5-minute session for 1,000 rupee. That does not work. Steam has absolutely no role in treating your COVID-19. So don't suggest that, don't even do that. You cannot be protected by virus by drinking or eating vinegar, soda, alcohol, or bleach. It's a myth. It's absolutely rubbish. It does not happen. No matter who has told you, a child or an adult or even an adult with a baby mind, it's irrelevant. It is never going to help. So don't do it, please. It's enough to use just normal soap. Please do not buy expensive antibacterial soaps. As long as you frequently wash your hands and wash them properly, that should really be enough. Even if you have a member positive of COVID-19 in the household, a simple frequent wash with the soap should just do it. It's a sticky virus, तो इसलिए हम बार-बार कहते हैं कि आप लोग हाथों को थोड़ा ज़्यादा देर धोइए, because the virus still sticks to the skin surfaces. COVID-19 is not a food infection, but I must say nutrition is very important. अच्छा, मेरे से लोग बार-बार ये पूछते हैं कि हम खाने में क्या खा सकते हैं जिससे हम लोगों को बेहतरी आए. न्यूट्रिशन इन एनी शेप और फॉर्म इज बेटर. मेरा हमेशा जवाब ये होता है, आप जिसको चाहे घर में खा सकते हैं, कोई परहेज नहीं है. It's absolutely allowed. कौन सी चीजें ज्यादा न्यूट्रिशियस हैं? Yes, we know that protein diet is fine. Citrus foods are very helpful. दही पाकिस्तान में बहुत ज्यादा इस्तेमाल होता है. दही is actually nutritious and you can eat it. It's got evidence based behind it. It's very supportive, nutritious. You can eat it. Fruit आप खा सकते हैं. There's absolutely no resistance or retaliation or negativity to the fruit as well. And lastly, the virus will not reduce its effects in the summer. अगर ऐसा होता तो ब्राजील में इस वक्त वो स्प्रेड ना कर रहा तो इस वाले मिथ को प्लीज ज़हन से निकाल दें कि पाकिस्तान में गर्मी आ रही है तो अभी ये कोरोना वायरस मर जाएगा तो हम लोग हर जगह कम्युनिटी में, मस्जिदों में, स्कूलों में हर जगह जा सकते हैं. हम इकट्ठे भी हो सकते हैं गलियों में भी, क्योंकि अब गर्मी आ गई है. ये वायरस, it is not. That's a myth. It has never proven. If that is the case, in the warm climates, there are countries who are still struggling. So when do I do the tests for COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2 virus? Before I go to the timings, I just wanted to share this slide. And let's just focus here. इसमें अगर आप लोग देखो, so it's a very nice study published. They looked at 9 patients from day 1 after their symptoms, and they looked at their swabs, sputum, their stools, serum, as well as urine. And if you look at it, at day 2, only 1 was positive. Then if you reach day 4, you start to see 6 were positive. And then by day 6, you have almost 80% who were positive. The other important thing in this is, if you look at sputum swabs, the nasopharyngeal are the most common positive things. Stool isn't. And there is a myth still about whether your stool does have viral particles. The answer is yes. However, it's not very well proven. We take precautionary measures. It's not so colonoscopy and flexible sigmoidoscopy for a gastroenterologist is not an aerosol generating procedure anymore, because the viral load, if you like, is not enough that comes out through the stools. And you can see that stool is a gray column, that it's really, really relatively low. If it is found, it's usually found in about 3 to 4 patients. The other thing I wanted to share here, look at this. हम ये कहते हैं कि आप 14 days पे क्वारंटीन खत्म कर दो और आप घर से बाहर आ जाओ. And that is true, because if you look, the viral load is very, very low, and this is your sputum and stool. Look at this, you still have, when you cough, and particularly if you have sputum, then you are still, even after 14 days, you are still at the risk of transmitting. Therefore, जब आप 14 दिनों के बाद घर से बाहर, कमरे से बाहर निकले, तो I would suggest please wear a mask at least for another 1 week. Still sit in open air. Close environments में मत बैठे. Because this virus, a lot still we have to learn from each other, from the studies, and taking precautions is always reasonable. So therefore, what are the tests available for you and me? There's antigen, which tests the current infection. It becomes positive day 2 to day 7 post symptom. अच्छा ये important है, ये महंगा टेस्ट है, बिला वजह लोगों के ना करवाएं. पहले ही दिन अगर उसको बुखार हुआ, आइसोलेट कर दीजिए, उसको बता दीजिए उसने क्या कर, लेकिन उसका टेस्ट मत भेजिए, because it will be negative. It's very likely that it will be negative at day 2 as well. My understanding is it's about 8 से 10,000 रुपए का in Pakistan, so don't do it. The maximum chance of this antigen or the PCR, which is either nasopharyngeal swab or a throat swab, is becoming positive is at day 3 to day 4. And we've just shown you in the slides that it peaks up the viral load as it goes behind the symptom days. Its specificity is about 70 to 80%. So please, if it's negative, you have a very, very strong clinical suspicion based on the chest X-ray or a CT scan or symptoms or a high pandemic where you had everyone infected in the house, you can repeat it in 48 hours. And particularly, जब आप discharge करने लगे हो patient को या उसको ये advise कर रहे हो कि de-isolate कर लो, अब आप बाहर आ जाओ, you don't have an infection, I think it's entirely reasonable that you ask him or her to actually repeat it. However, if I may suggest, please give at least 24, but ideally 48 hours of gap between the two. Okay, what is antibody? Antibody आपको current infection नहीं बताती है. It tells you about the immunity, and you don't see it 14 days post symptoms. It is a blood test. It is not a throat or a nose swab, and you actually do it. Only it's helpful in healthcare workers so they can return to work, to be fair. I don't see any other use of this in being used otherwise. We all know we will acquire herd immunity in one way or the other. It's 80% accurate and it can be negative. So hence I think only request it when you think it's terribly relevant. What is the home care assessment tool? Okay, and I just quickly mentioned what is the high risk group. Does it actually matter? Does high risk group? The answer is yes. High risk group ना सिर्फ ये कि उनको कोविड-19 के चांसेस आपसे और मेरे से ज्यादा कैच करने के हैं, अगर वो कैच कर लेते हैं तो उनमें उसकी कॉम्प्लिकेशन या सफरिंग भी ज्यादा है. सो देयरफॉर जब आप टेलीफोन पे असेस करें तो लोगों से पूछ लें. A lot of data is there that confirms, Chinese data as well as CDC New England Journal में भी publish हुआ है ये paper, and it all confirms that people who've got high risk groups, they acquire it quickly, they are more susceptible, and they are more susceptible to the complications. What are its age more than 55, smoker, diabetes, if they've got any respiratory problem or cardiovascular, dialysis dependent, end stage renal disease, advanced liver disease, particularly decompensated. Although that said, we are still struggling even in UK to convince the government that decompensated liver disease is a high risk group. Your immunosuppressive patients on biologics, as well as your chemotherapy or immunotherapy for malignancy. Acha, somebody just texted me to ask, is viral hepatitis is a risk factor? Because Pakistan hepatitis B or C both. So the answer is no. Viral hepatitis in its own right, hepatitis B or C, is not a risk factor. You cannot class your patient as a high risk group unless he is a cirrhotic or either decompensated or end stage liver disease. क्या हमें उनकी medication बंद कर दें? No. If you have already started hepatitis C treatment, finish it off. There's no need for you to stop it in between. Yes, if you are planning to start and the patient is not end stage liver disease, you can wait for the pandemic to get over. 8 या 12 हफ्ते treatment delay करने से in a non-cirrhotic hepatitis C patient कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. You're not going to damage much. So how do we assess? How do we then get a phone call from somebody, and how do we then make sure that the advice we're giving is safe? Which are the patients we can keep at home? Which are the patients we can keep at home, but we need to follow very closely? And at what time do we ask them to go to hospital? Okay. So you have a phone call from the patient and you assess whether they are mild, moderate or severe. हर जगह पे आपने बार बार देखा होगा कि अगर माइल्ड सिम्टम है, मॉडरेट है, सीवियर है, तो आपने उसको किस ग्रुप में क्लासिफाई करना है. What we don't quite yet understood, what and how we going to assess these patients on the phone. So is there a way that we can do it? आप उनसे फीवर का पूछ सकते हो, आप उनसे कॉफ का पूछोगे, because these are the symptoms suggested of COVID. So what are the two main symptoms? Persistent fever and persistent cough. And if you have those two symptoms, then you of course ask about the other symptoms of headache, and if they have any of these, then you suspect COVID. What is a mild presentation? Fever less than 100, occasional cough, there's no shortness of breath. They can complain of mild weakness, but they are ADLs at activity of daily living that they are doing it. There's absolutely no problem. If you want to supplement this, you can always ask if they're sensible enough. They can tell you about the SATs, if they have monitored, but you can manage these patients at home. There is actually no need for these patients to go to hospital. और ये mostly हमारे वो 50% जो population जो हमने पहली slide में share किए हैं, ये वो लोग हैं. इनको घर में manage कर सकते हैं आप. If they are between day 8 and day 12, then what you can also make sure that you leave your contact number with them, so they can ring you and they can contact you if they get worse. Because even at this stage, you do not know which pathway they're going to follow. Moderate group, I will come to it in a minute because this needs a bit more time and a bit more thoughts. Then you have a group, severe group, who are short of breath at the very beginning. The saturations are quite low, below 92%. They're very tachypnic. Unko ghar mein mat rakhe. Now, I completely understand there's a pressure on the health system. I completely understand there may be factors, social, financial factors, prohibiting these patients going to hospital, but the medical advice should never change on the basis of social factors, because this is what the recommendation should be. हम force नहीं कर सकते किसी मरीज को जाने के लिए, हम किसी और तरह उसको help कर सकते हैं, but the medical advice should never change. These patients should go to hospital, they should not stay at home. So let's talk about moderate one. So ये वो आपके patients होते हैं जिनको आप 3 categories में divide कर सकते हो, a category A and a category B and a category C. So your category A it hasn't got short of breathlessness, there's no chest pain, and is able to do activities of daily living. You ask a Roth score. Roth score क्या है? Let me explain you in about 30 seconds. So Roth score एक cardiologist ने एक system निकाला. He's done that study on about 50 patients on the coronary care ward, and he's compared it with the saturations level on the pulse oximeter. And he found out that on the telephone, if you ask a person to count in his native language, चाहे वो सराइकी है, बलोची है, पंजाबी है, पढ़ा लिखा नहीं है, आप उसे कहते हैं कि वो count करना शुरू कर दे 1 से onwards, go to 30 maybe, and you just here on the other end of the phone, when does he stop to take a breath? And if it is more than 8 seconds, then you know that the 95 confidence interval of that is around sets of 95% or over. So हमें ये पता है कि जो 8 सेकंड के बाद सांस लेने के लिए रुका है अपनी गिनती गिनते वक्त, उसकी saturation about 94 to 95% से ज्यादा है. And that is reassuring. So therefore, अच्छा इसमें criticism भी है. कुछ लोग ये कहते हैं कि this isn't the very ideal way of doing it because you can miss hypoxia, and therefore I have added these other tools to support that assessment. You have a category B where there is a mild shortness of breath. Just make sure it's new, it's not old, it's not a COPD or asthmatic child. And if it's new mild shortness of breath, but they shouldn't have a chest pain, their score is between 6 to 8, respiratory rate still less than 22, and they are saturating at 94 to 96% with a heart rate of 100 or slightly over, they can still be at home. In patients, I think it's very reasonable that you ask for these blood tests as well as chest x-ray if you can. And I believe this is a group of patients where if you have home care, if you have provision of a nearby GP center where they can go and get looked at, then that will be very beneficial. But home care is certainly very, very ideal for these patients because your group B, category B and category C can be managed at home if you have a very well-trained home care team. Moving to category C, these are the patients who are clearly worse. Their SATs are more than 92%, but they're very tachypnic. And they are actually, their Roth score is probably dropping below 6. Category A ke patient ko you can reassess in 24 hours and you should do. These patients, you should not just leave your phone numbers with them. You should take their phone numbers and you should make every effort to reassess them in 24 hours. Category B in 12 hours and category C you should assess in 6 hours. If in 6-hour assessment, you actually refer if either they deteriorate or if they're high risk group. So your category C with high risk group should be referred to hospital. They should not be left here. Very last part of my slide. I promise I'll finish in 20 minutes. I hope I am. What does it mean for Pakistan? Pakistan ke demographics dekhiye. You guys are here. When I started doing these talks, you guys were this color. Sadly, you're moving here and probably in 4 weeks time, you'll either be this color or this. I'm hoping not. What does this mean? This means that your level, you're moving towards the moderate risk of infection, which means the significant population will be infected by the end of this pandemic. There are certain other things. For example, agar aap compare karo Pakistan ko to other countries who have gone through pandemics, what are the confounders? So you have green is Pakistan, yellow is Italy, and blue is South Korea. Have a look. You have much more 0 to 19 years old. And it's probably because we never let our elderly people live too long. Nobody lives that far in Pakistan. Maybe, I don't know. But if you look at it, this is, in a way, it's a good sign because we know that age more than 55 is a high risk group. So therefore, the mortality by expectation should be low in this group. Let's have a look at disease incidence. Again, green is Pakistan. Hypertension, heart disease, compared to globally, they're not really relatively different. But look at the liver disease. You are 5 times higher compared to globally. I'm a hepatologist, so therefore I'm going to present this. This is much more. So you are likely to see much more high-risk group patients. So just bear that in mind. Demographics, let's look at the Punjab. We know Punjab's got a population of about 11 crore. More than 110 millions. Your current daily infection rate is more than 10,000. It isn't less really. And of course, I know there are a lot of people who are still not being getting tested because they just can't afford it. But official daily infection rate of Pakistan is around 10,000 people per day. Now, if you carry on going on this rate, it's very likely just in Punjab, you would have about 3 million people infected, which then will require, back to the graph 1, that 15% of the infected population, 6,000 will need hospital and 30,000 will need ITU admission. The purpose of this talk wasn't really to focus on these individuals, but what we do know that still there will be more than 1.5 million patients in Punjab that you and I during this pandemic can look after at home. And therefore, going back to Asad's original plan, that we need to devise a system and a way where we could look after these patients at home. And the way you guys can do it is just by sharing the knowledge. And you don't really have to be a consultant, you don't really have to be a very senior doctor. Even junior doctors, medical students, paramedics, nurses, just share that basic knowledge and provide that care to the individuals around the family in the community and where they live. I'll finish the talk here and I'll take questions from now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Farooq. Farooq, if you can stop share so we move to the parent screen. Thank you, Farooq. As usual, an excellent talk. Just